Isn't it interesting that the FBI gets wind of a foreign intelligence operation targeting members of Congress or public officials, and of course they give them a defensive briefing. But they never gave a defensive briefing to President Trump. In fact, any defensive briefings they were giving were actually opportunities, they admitted were opportunities to spy on. That shows you how corrupt this FBI is. I do want to talk about Representative Eric Swalwell, who has been implicated in a Chinese spy scandal. There was a woman named, I don't know how the name is pronounced, Fang, who was, according to the FBI, believed to be a Chinese intelligence asset. And she was operating in the San Francisco Bay Area and got her tenterhooks into, among other politicians, a young Eric Swalwell, even before he became a congressman. And the allegations are that, she was doing this on behest of the Chinese communists. Now, Swalwell, as you know, was a vicious anti-Trump liar. I don't use that word lightly, but he lied about Russia collusion in a knowing way. He knowingly lied about Russia and Trump. And just a year before he began pushing that, he had been warned by the FBI that he was targeted by this intelligence asset. Now, some have alleged that the relationship was more than she was bundling money for him. And the stories are that there was something more substantial there as a relationship. I don't know whether that's true or not. So, I'm not going to get into that. But of course, he's refused to disclose the nature of the relationship. What were they doing together? What were his communications like? He's on the Intelligence Committee still. How was that possible? And I know many people are having great fun with Swalwell. This is pretty serious stuff. And, how broad was it? There were other members of Congress who were targeted by Fang, who, by the way, is now in China. And, Dianne Feinstein had a spy there. It looks like there was an event involving, Feinstein had a spy placed in her office by the Chinese. And it looks like there was an event that featured both alleged spies and Swalwell. So, it's incredible. What's going on there? How big is this issue? And isn't it interesting that the FBI gets wind of a foreign intelligence operation targeting members of Congress or public officials, and of course they give them a defensive briefing. But they never gave a defensive briefing to President Trump. In fact, any defensive briefings they were giving were actually opportunities, they admitted were opportunities to spy on. That shows you how corrupt this FBI is and the Justice Department. So obviously we'll be investigating that. And I would just call your attention to the fact that the Chinese, and I've always been, and I may have talked about this before, China money in American politics goes back a long way. The Chinese bought and paid for Bill and Hillary Clinton's presidency. There's no doubt about that. They funded his run for governor. They funded his presidency. They funded his reelection campaign. His initial run for president and then his reelection campaign. He had Chinese generals literally in the White House at fundraisers. We represented one of the folks, Johnny Chung, who said the White House was like a subway. You put a token for the gate to open up. And he had talked with an intel official of China about them liking Clinton and wanting to see him reelected. So it's no surprise that they would target Joe Biden's son, set him up, give a bribe to Joe Biden through his son, and obviously they've got this active measures campaign here in the United States to influence officials here, namely Eric Swalwell. And this person's probably getting a medal back home in China, because she not only had access to someone who was on the Intelligence Committee, but has compromised someone on the Intelligence Committee. So it's urgent he be kept off, at least until we figure out what went on, until he's more forthcoming. Frankly, I don't believe anything he said, given the way he's been behaving. He's not trustworthy. He's not trustworthy, Eric Swalwell. And this isn't a question of not liking his politics. This is a man who has access to our nation's top secrets because of his role in the Intelligence Committee. And it's urgent for our national security that be stopped.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch all the latest news from Judicial Watch.